Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Second Chance Live. I'm so excited that you're tuning in with us. For those of you who may not know me and you're watching this because it was an amazing interview and somebody was like, you know what, you should watch this interview, and they forwarded it to you, or you were just scrolling and somehow like it came across your feed. My name is Daryl Stinson. I'm a former Division I athlete, two-time TEDx speaker, and I love empowering others to share their story and get paid to do it. My guest today is Justine, who I met by being a guest on her podcast. And I can't wait for her to share her genius, her expertise with you. We titled today's episode Unapologetic Achievement. And I really love that title because she's somebody who has had great success and is unapologetic about it. So what I want you to do as you join on, I want you to click that share button, share with people you know, like, trust, love, or people you hate, because the best thing to do to your haters is to bless your enemies. So as I read her bio, you know the drill. Be thinking of those people, hit that share button, and we're going to get into an amazing discussion today. So Justine is a leader in the high performance industry. She co-hosts the Virtually Limitless Podcast, which I had the opportunity to be on, and she coaches private clients and so much more. You're going to hear about that much more. She loves to serve individuals, teams, and corporations who are striving for wealth in life and business and helps them achieve this unapologetically. I heard her on Clubhouse this morning. We had a bonus part 1 to this episode, and she is a believer. She's got a bunch of bombs to drop, man. So I know she's going to add a lot of value today. So that's it. I'm done running my commercial. How are you doing, my friend?
Oh, Daryl, thank you so much for having me here on Second Chance. I'm so excited to not only bless your audience, but hopefully inspire them. Because I think the biggest thing with second chances is that, we've done it once, but on the second chance, it's just as scary. It doesn't change. Like the fear is still there no matter what. And I think that, hopefully my story really impacts people across the world. So I'm super excited for today.
Yeah. Speaking of your story, like, what is your story? First of all, I guess before you like give us the story, like, I'm having a hard time. Did we meet through Clubhouse? Is that where we met through?
Yes. Yep. Clubhouse has been like the network of my dreams, and being a busy mom of 2 boys has totally changed the game for me and my
Wow.
connection opportunities
Wow.
because I'm not stuck to Zoom.
Right.
I'm not
Right.
stuck online. And so it's one of those things where I feel like I'm able to not only reach the potential in my business and reach the many people that I'm hoping to impact, but I'm able to honor my priorities
For
and
sure.
be with my kids. So yes, Clubhouse is where we met and this whole party began.
Sweet. Sweet. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. So, okay, now tell us the story.
Oh, perfect. I love stories, and I hope that you love mine. So, my story of entrepreneurship to where I am today started off very different than your typical entrepreneur. I was the straight A's, honors, gold, chords, uh, cum laude, magna cum laude student in college. And I was very grateful for that experience of college life. And I went on in the dental field to pursue a career.
Wow, me
Um,
too, man. No,
I
no, I'm
love,
just kidding.
I love, you're
Terrible.
so
I was
good.
terrible in high school. I was a terrible student.
Oh, come on. I won't tell your secrets. It's all good. But so anyways, academics was not a struggle for me. So I don't have that in common necessarily with some of the other great entrepreneurs that I've gotten to know. Kind of makes my story stand out, which I love. And is something that, really can connect me to other people in corporate where they're like, I've always been at the top. I've always been in the lead. How do I, change this in this new scenario? So let me continue with kind of how that transpired. My husband and I got married and we wanted to start our family, and working full time as a dental assistant for me, that wasn't in the cards. So our mutual decision was for me to quit my job and to help raise the kids. So I worked up to the day that I had my first son, and that wasn't fun, but I was in that hamster wheel of needing insurance. And I hope most of you can relate to that because we've all been there. If we're not still there, we've all been there. And I'm so grateful. It made me stronger. I was sick the whole pregnancy, but it drove me to create a mindset of I can do this no matter what's in my way. And so that's kind of where I started. And then I hit depression. I hit rock bottom. I had all the things. I had a great spouse. I had a child. I had a roof over my head. I had all the blessings, but I was so lost in how to impact other people. So I had to ask myself what made me happy, what made me joyful, right? Those hard reflection questions that each and every one of us have to ask ourselves all the time. And it took me back to volunteering at a dental convention where we served with our profession as dental individuals for free. We served the people that couldn't afford dental care. And it was so incredible. Like the feeling always gives me goosebumps because everyone was there because they wanted to be. Everyone was using their gifts and talents in the dental field to create an opportunity for someone to come in with pain, with lack of a smile because of whatever their teeth look like you name it, we saw it. But we were able to turn that like catastrophe into confidence. And so to see someone coming in with just the frown on their face to walking out with a smile from ear to ear was the best feeling ever. So to wrap that into the story, I was like, how on earth can I create that feeling at home? Just me and my son. My husband was relocated for work Monday through Friday. So it's kind of like a single parent. Love my spouse. My husband is so supportive, but when he's not there, he's not there. It's just kind of the way it is, right? And so I had to ask myself, how can I do that? I turned to the online space, had to figure out what the heck entrepreneur meant because I hadn't even heard that word. And to see everyone's bios with entrepreneur. But I'm like, okay, but this guy does this. That guy's in e-commerce. What? I was so lost, Daryl. Like it was bad. I was greener than green. But that's what allowed me to start, is because I was okay asking questions. I was okay being like, hey, I'm new to this. I have no idea what you guys are doing. What's this all about? You're a six-figure earner of what? What do you do? How do you help people? How do you, and then people, I came into the impact-driven circle and purpose-driven. And I was like, okay, this is kind of my vibe. This is my tribe. But what the heck do you do? How do you do it? How do you create that opportunity online? And so it was one of those things for me that I had to feel like, how do I fit in that space? How do I create that opportunity for me? So I started out as a virtual assistant, joined a virtual team, was not what I wanted, did not go well. That's fine. Bump in the road, right? And then I was asked to coach. I did not know coaching was an industry. I did not know any of that. So what did I do? I turned around and hired myself a coach so I could do it right. Yeah. I was like, I have the gift. I have the talent. I have the story. Mm-hmm. How do I monetize this? How do I turn this around? How do I truly impact these people on the level that I desire to do so? And so I invested in me, and it's been just phenomenal ever since.
Phenomenal, man. And so, man, what do you enjoy most about coaching others?
That is such a good question and so hard to choose. I think the biggest thing that I enjoy is seeing them take ownership of their lives and businesses. And the number one reason why that's important to me, in a little expansion of my story, I had a second chance starting in February of 2020, actually. My story really took a side, like plot twist, you would say. Everything was going great, business, life, love, family, all of it. I ended up in the hospital with no explanation and a terribly high fever. That fever crested to 109.3 and was a result of a kidney infection that I had no symptoms for. I just came in and told the doctors I had a terrible fever, couldn't break it. And they're like, okay, a fever's like related to every sickness in the planet. We don't know what's wrong with you. And so long story short, I ended up laying on the hospital bed, dripping wet, weaker than I've ever felt before. And the nurse came in and was like, I got to take your temperature again. And I was like, why? And she's like, I think it's broken. You can't tell me there's broken thermometers in a hospital. So I looked at her and I was like, what the heck happened? I said, just tell me the number, because I knew the number was high. And she's like, it's 109.3. Wow. And I heard that number, slightly panicked. But more than anything, I was like, that number's too high. It's got to go down. And as I laid there praying, it was one of those things where I was like, God, I'm not done. I have too many gifts. I have too many talents. I'm not done. I'm not done. And it was kind of like that moment, put me back in, coach. I'm not done running the field. Get me back in. But I was benched. And it was probably one of the greatest things that ever happened to me, because it helped me reestablish and recreate the foundation of my life and business to practice what I preach at a level that I only had imagined. So for those that are, curious, how do I help those corporate clients? How do I help people create their life and business of success? It's by helping them define their level of success and take actionable, tangible steps towards it. And that starts with accountability in the actions and the words that they put in place, because we're only as strong as our word and in our integrity to ourselves. We can be like, oh, I've never let my mate down. I've never let my partners down. I've never let my coworkers down. That's all well and good. How many times do you let yourself down in a day?
Man, one of the things that I noticed about you when I just started to look at like your digital footprint is you're kind of low key. And I'm assuming you're young. You look young. And the average person that I know that's an entrepreneur, they're young. I mean, they coach and they work with 6-figure entrepreneurs. I mean, and above. It's like they're usually like extremely active everywhere. But when I looked up your stuff, I mean, it looks nice, it's classy, but it's so simple. And I feel like that's intentional somehow. So I
Yeah.
wanted to ask you about that.
You're reading my vibe totally. So I am working on being omnipresent. The platform I'm probably the worst at, honestly, is LinkedIn. And that's just because I don't like it. I just want to shoot it straight out there. I'm sorry for you LinkedIn buffs, but I just have not found out why I love it yet. So I kind of don't. Anyways, my goal with the way that I message and the way that I speak to people on TikTok, Clubhouse, Instagram, Facebook, you name it, is clarifying the fact that life is simple. It's very black and white. There is some gray, but so many people get caught up in the gray that they lose track of what is simple and what they actually are in control of. And so, even in that parallel, what is yours to control? What is not yours to control? What should you be focusing on? What should you not be focusing on? It's not that complicated, but the world and some entrepreneurs out there are trying to convince you that it's super, 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 super hard, because then you need their product, their course, their mastermind, their this or that or the other thing. I personally, and in my very humble opinion, I practice what I preach. I don't think that's necessary. I think that's necessary to become the best level and version of yourself in order to achieve what it is that you're called to do. And sometimes that will require having a coach to help you speak and, harness your story. Sometimes it will require a web designer, because that is not my forte. I suck at tech, you guys. I'm just totally throwing that out there. But that's why I partnered with people that's their gift and talent. So I'm not saying that you don't need people, but don't forget that you need you first. And that's what I am here to empower. That is what I am here to build up. And that is what I am here to show you. You have it, but you have to actually desire it. You have to actually work for it. And if you're not where you want to be, your destination today is not final unless you choose it to be. And so I'm all about the second chance. And I think that's why we get along so well, because it's not about where you were yesterday. It's about what you're doing with today. And it's simple. Are you taking a step forward, or are you taking a step back? It's not complicated.
I love it. What do one of the things I always love, because, I tell people this all the time. I feel like I'm a jack of all trades and a master of like one. Like, they say master of none, but I've got like some high level skill in one area. Like I can communicate, and that's kind of it, like connection really is my greatest communication skill. But for you, what do you feel like that superpower is?
My energy. And the reason that I say energy is because my energy comes from within, and I make sure that I am overflowing into the lives of others versus pouring into the lives of others. Wasn't always like that. This is my second chance on me to really make sure that if I'm, where I need to be personally, then I can show up where I need to be professionally as well. And that's why I do brand myself as a life and business coach, because I don't believe that you should be limited to just one, successful in life or successful in business. I believe that you can be limitless in that factor, but you need to bring you into both equations. You can't have a successful business truly without being successful as an individual. You can be a successful individual without a business. Heck, yes, absolutely. But you can't be a successful business without being a successful person in who you are. So that's why, for those of you that are questioning life and business, and many times I've got that question, like, how can you possibly? That is why. And that is my mantra. That is what I live by.
Love it. Love it. I was curious because I love origin stories
Mm.
of the Virtually Limitless podcast and your partnership with, I think his name's Trey, right?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
I'm so bad with names. I'm sorry, but I'm
All
curious.
good.
What was that, or like, how did you guys decide that you were gonna like co-host this podcast? And because I find that interesting that I thought about co-hosting a couple of times, but then I was like, no, I want all the attention. I'm just kidding. I didn't say that.
You're good. Are you sure, Dale? Are you
I'm just
sure?
kidding.
I
I'm
don't
just kidding.
know
I
about
just,
that.
it's just like coordinating with somebody else's schedule, and
Yeah.
so like I want to know the origin story, and I want to know like what do you feel like you bring to the table, and what does he bring to the table?
Such a good question. And I hope it's super helpful for you guys to see how coordinating and magnifying each other's gifts and talents can really be actual monetization opportunity as well. So for the podcast, funny story, he had me on the podcast a while ago, and he's like, you were my highest downloaded episode. People absolutely love you. We had been friends and had been, bouncing ideas off of each other back and forth, like, network people do. And it was phenomenal. And he approached me. He's like, I know you've talked about starting your own, which I had. He's like, I'll cut straight to the chase. Do you want to co-host? You were phenomenal. You're right up there with Akbar Sheik. And I'm like, really? Like, I didn't know the downloads. I didn't know the numbers. I don't even know how to edit a podcast episode, guys. I'm that green still, I promise.
Wow.
And so it was one of those genuine opportunities where he's like, I like your message. I feel like we bring different elements to the table, and it would actually be a very complimentary opportunity. Now, case in point, you guys, he is a digital marketing expert. That is not my forte. He does not want to be coaching people unless he chooses to do high-level one-on-one situations or masterminds.
I see.
We have very different offerings,
I got you.
but they can be very complementary. And it's one of those things, if I build rapport with someone through the podcast, but they actually need Trey service, I'm going to feel comfortable being like, hey, you know what? I've got the person that can help you with that, because that's not my zone of genius, but I've got someone in my pocket that really would be able to support you. So for me, it was a smart move, not only to practice my speaking and get better with my storytelling and all of those things, but it was an opportunity for me to connect with people that I could serve that he couldn't as well. He was getting people on the show that he's like, oh my gosh, they really need Justine. Well, why don't we make this a thing? And it's been phenomenal ever since. I've interviewed Sharon Letcher. I had James Whitaker. I've had other great people I wouldn't have touched on my own as an individual, but through a podcast and an opportunity for them to share their message for, their masterminds and their books and all that kind of thing. It creates an opportunity for me to give back, but also create that connection and relationship, which otherwise is seemingly untouchable. And so it's been a huge opportunity, but like I said, be strategic. If you're considering a co-hosting opportunity or something to do with a podcast, make sure that it's complementary to what you're doing and how you're going to do it.
How did you get James Whitaker on your podcast? Like, it just seems like the strangest connection.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
How'd you get James Whitaker on your podcast?
Actually, funny story. Trey was the one that had the conversation, and I got to interview him.
Oh,
so
really?
They connected somehow, and so I got to keep up with that guy too, because he's making connections left and right and networking, and I'm like, holy smokes, you guys! But that's the other thing. You have to be both committed. Trey is 100% committed. I'm 100% committed. So if there's someone I'm bringing to the show that's of value, if I'm doing one-off conversations like this with Daryl, it's one of those things where we're both in it to win it. So there's no feeling of like, I got to do all the connecting to get all the interviews scheduled. No, we're very much a fluid situation where my connections are his connections, and all of it is for the podcast and how we can serve them at a higher level. So it makes it super simple, and it cuts out a lot of the seemingly drama that other people seem to go through. And it's because we're both committed. So if you don't feel like someone is going to be committed with you, trust your gut. Trust your gut. Don't do it.
Love it. I was reading in can you hear me?
Yes, you sound
Okay,
great.
I think my computer it's like freezing right now because I'm trying to like flash your information on the screen. It's not letting me do it.
I can see you perfect and you sound fantastic.
Really? So if I
So I would have had no idea.
if I disappear, like this is so weird. It's never happened to me. Okay, there, it's working now. That was so strange. I was like, the screen was just black. I'm like, I don't know if she can see it now. I'm like, by faith.
Nope, you're so
Anyways,
good. You're so
so
good.
I was seeing, I can't remember where it was, but you were a part of one of Dean Graziaso's community.
Yeah.
And so tell me about that experience and how did you rise as a leader in that community?
Oh, it's so powerful. I love sharing this story. So for those of you that don't know Dean Graziosi, he's a huge giver. He's a huge leader that I found myself attracted to his tribe because it was also driven with impact, purpose, and all things that I stand for, right? So I joined one of his groups and I started sharing there daily. It was a way for me to practice my message, to practice my writing, which a preconceived notion was that I couldn't write. No one would read my posts. And I wrote long posts to practice.
Hold on. How did you think as a summa cum laude that you couldn't write?
Because my twin sister is a better writer in my
comparison trap.
Yes. And it was so funny because in high school, we did this veterans essay contest. My dad was a naval veteran. And so all things through the armed forces are super core to us. But anyways, we did this speech kind of presentation and writing, and she could write in 2 hours what it felt like weeks to accomplish. And I couldn't get my words out on paper, but I could talk. And it was so interesting because just to see our gifts and talents in reverse, it was one of those things where I could present the speech, but I had trouble writing the speech. She struggled presenting. And so it was just so cool. So anyways, for me, the biggest thing was the comparison trap, really, where I was comparing my writing to other people's writing and being like, oh, their voice and flow is so good. And then all of a sudden I was like, wow, there's people that actually like my frank, clear cut, kind of short and sweet messages sometimes. Like, wow, okay. And so that's huge, it was a huge boost. I did get criticism as well, but kind of like we were talking about earlier in Clubhouse, rejection can be beneficial to your growth as well. Yeah. And so I had some of the people in English majors reaching out to me and being like, you realize your punctuation and grammar is very, very limited. And I'm like, you know what? I'm sorry. I hope you got the message. Sending you love. Bye. But I grew so much. And so the reason that I leveled up in those communities was because I was sharing value. I was not there surfing for clients. I was there to practice and I was there to learn. And it was realized that I was there with genuine intent. And I was requested to be a moderator, which then led to becoming a leader, established moderator. And I actually got to help host World Summit with him and Tony Robbins last year. It was absolutely incredible. We did it virtual and it was legendary. But it was one of those things that I didn't go in even knowing that was a possibility. And so for people that are listening to this, that story as a recap is you never know what opportunities are ahead of you. Right. But if you show up as the best version of you, there is no limit to what could happen or what opportunities could open for you. So that was really how that transpired for me.
Wow, really cool. Show up and crush it and get used to your gift of short, concise, no fluff, poetic language.
And be you. Like, just be you. I think that's the cool thing. And I think that, even Pete Vargas talks about this a lot, where he's like, your story is so valuable because it's the only one like you. And my son Pete. Watches Barney. And so it's like that song, you're special because you're the only one. You're the only one like you. Barney's a very old cartoon.
I know what Barney is. I used to watch Barney all the time. And
oh my gosh, I almost can't handle.
Did you just try to explain Barney to me? Like,
not
I know what Barney. I'm the Barney original.
So, not to you, my friend. For people that are too young to know it. Okay.
I'm
so
young.
Funny.
I'm young.
Yes, you are very young. You're very young.
Nowadays, they watch some. I feel like the cartoons suck nowadays. I'm just gonna be honest with you. Like, I feel like we had all the classics, and I don't know what all this stuff is going on nowadays.
I don't even know what is on anymore. But you are special. You're the only one like you, and your story will hit core for somebody else. And so embrace that in your writing, in who you are. And the other thing about that too is I've had Steve Sims on the podcast, and he talked very.
I don't know who that is. Am I supposed to know who that is? Who's Steve Sims?
he's another leading speaker, and
Oh,
he has another event that he's really good at. But he was talking about, even online too. He's a very simple, straightforward individual as well. So we got along great. He was talking about the fact, like, showing up as the same person online as you are in person makes it so much easier for people to get to know you. So be the same in your writing, be the same in your videos, be the same all across the board. So you don't have to, number one, confuse yourself. You
right.
don't have to be unauthentic, and you don't have to overcomplicate the process.
Yeah.
And it allows people to connect and become your raving fans in such a incredible way.
Yeah.
But we overthink it so many times.
Yeah. So I'm gonna do the deal real quick, and this is like where I just do something random or like just go a place where people weren't expecting. So it's curveball time. Don't get worried. So like, let's dig into something that interests me real quick. So you talked about your twin sister.
Yeah.
Okay, and I think twins are fascinating because I don't know. I just think it's weird to have another human being that just like looks like you. And I know we talked about this. You said you guys don't really look like identical. Is that right?
We don't look a thing alike.
So, anyways, it's still weird to me to think like the same person came out of the womb at the same time as me. So, like, I want to like, is there other areas? Because was she like a summa cum laude too? Like, is there like one that's like taller and the other shorter? Does one get like asked out more in high school? Like, what was the twin feud like growing up?
It's so funny that you asked that. So my sister was the blonde, olive-skinned, blue-eyed beauty, and I was the brown, stubby, messed up teeth girl next to her. So it was always very interesting. I got so mad at the boys playing tag because they always ran after her. But I think the biggest thing,
it's like a movie right now. She got super sad for you. It's like, dang.
Oh no, it's so good. And it's one of those things. It's one of those things where we were so, and we still are to this day, we're so different in our personalities that my twin sister was and is my best friend. Do we agree on everything?
Was she like the evil older, like who's older?
She's older by 2 minutes. 2 whopping minutes.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
And she'll remind me of that till the day we die, but that's okay. We actually went to school for the same thing, to college for the same thing. So we both became dental assistants. We both did. We both have kind of pursued life a little differently. But the cool thing about, I think, being twins is that there is a connection that can't be described, and it's like an intuition. And crazy fact,
communicate telepathically. I knew it. I knew twins could do that. Like,
so another fun fact for you: there are 2 sets of twins in my family, back to back.
2, like not siblings.
After me, yeah. Like,
no way.
There are 8 children in my family. I am number 5 by 2 minutes. And then
your parents had 8 children.
Blessed to be one of 8.
Oh my God! And 2 sets of twins. So hold on.
Talk about God sending curveballs, man. You think you're the one sending curveballs?
So are the other 2? Were the other 2 boy twins?
No, girl and a boy.
Oh, really cool. I love that.
Yeah.
What's that called again? It's not Siamese. It's something else.
It's fraternal.
Fraternal twins.
We're
That's
fraternal
right.
twins.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
So,
what?
Yeah.
What? Wow. I bet you that was like crap. Like,
you know what? It's just so crazy. And so for those of you that don't know, I was homeschooled as well. So it's one of those things where we just really grew super close. And actually, during my high school days, before I went off to college as a PSEO student.
Like all the way through high school?
Yep, up through my senior year. And then I did college as a high school student because of my grades. So I was able to get 1 year of college paid for.
Jeez.
So that was really
I cannot
incredible.
imagine.
But the cool thing, one last fact about the twins is the 2 sets of twins had a quartet of music. And so we did violins, 2 violins, a viola, and a cello. And one of our favorite things to do after school in the afternoon was just blast out all of our favorite tunes. And we would do our own revisions of like The Hobbit, like Icy Fire, Misty Mountain Cold. Like, oh my gosh, like it just brings back such good memories of us jamming out for hours in the living room, playing our instruments. So that's something that will forever be a great memory. And I love music. So that's another fun fact, I guess.
Really cool. So which instrument do you play?
I played violin. I continue to play violin, piano, and sing.
Oh my God.
I want to learn guitar though,
What
but I
can't
haven't
you
got that
do,
done
man?
yet. I don't know. The problem with me is that if you say I can't do it, I'll probably try to do it and hurt myself or do something stupid. So I try not to do that. But yeah, no. So I love that. I love staying active and physical. I didn't play sports in high school or anything like that. I still play volleyball in leagues with my husband, he's way further along that road than me, but it's something we love to do together. So
Really
that's
cool.
Yeah.
Wow, it's a small world after all.
Absolutely.
Oh man, I have so many like now your family interests me. Like the Brady Bunch over there, man. Like you guys should have like a reality TV show.
Oh gosh, no. Oh gosh, no. Has there been drama? Yes. Could we have a show? Probably, but no, thank you.
Like you got the quartet going, you got the two sets of twins going. Like, okay, so like were the twins in the middle, the top, the bottom, like
the middle to the bottom.
So if you're the fifth.
So there were 3 singles, 2 sets of twins, so that's 4, and then there's a caboose. That's 1. So yeah. It's all good. And it's crazy because we're all doing different things. And
oh gosh. You guys had like to have like the 15-passenger bus just to travel.
It was close to that. It was close to that.
Your parents are bosses. What do they do for a living?
My dad is actually putting in his letter of resignation here for being a school psychologist for 38 years. I think it's 38 years.
Wow.
Forgive me if it's not quite on task, but he was K through 12 school psychologist and counselor for, hundreds of children. And he chose to have us homeschooled because of the things that he saw children going through. And it's one of the greatest gifts that him and mom ever gave us was being homeschooled.
Wow. I don't know if I have the temperament for that. I mean, I guess you guys had like a house full of people, so it probably was like its own little mini private school. But I need a bunch of people, man, you know.
There's
like so you didn't have like the homecoming or prom experience either?
No.
What?
No.
Did you feel sheltered?
I felt, how would I put it? Yes, I would say I felt sheltered.
You need counseling? I'm just kidding. I feel like
what are you saying, Daryl? What are you saying on live? Wow. No,
I'm just saying, like, I feel like the question is like, do you feel sheltered? It was like a super like counselor question.
Oh, it was great. No, that's the counselor, and that was so good. No, I felt sheltered, yes, but I also felt protected, and I felt it was a very safe space. It was a very loving space, and it's one of those things that I am so grateful that I had, because there's so many children that we would hear about or see that didn't know which house they were going to be at that night, who was going to make them supper, who was going to have their laundry or help them with homework. And that was never something I ever had to think about. I never had to think about that. And so looking back now, I'm like, whoa, that was something wrapped in gold that I had no comprehension of at the time. And so, yes, I felt sheltered, and yes, there's pros and cons to everything, but still, I would say hands down the greatest gift that my parents gave me in addition to my faith.
Wow. Talk about your faith. Were you like one of those people that were just raised in church like your entire life? Like you just grew up chewing on pews and like...
So I'm traditional Roman Catholic. So I'm considered very religious, according to social standards. I think I'm a pretty decent person. I don't chew people out. I think that everyone deserves God's love, but I will challenge people on things that I don't believe are moral. So that's kind of how I roll. But I do pray the rosary. I did sit in the pews, but we actually drove over an hour and a half to get to church every Sunday one way. And so we were very dedicated to our faith, but it didn't come easy either. Which I think has given me so much more gratitude for the fact that I live within a half hour now of where I go to church. So even, those scary times of being in Minnesota, that's where I'm located, you guys. There were many times where there was the winter blizzard or, it was too freaking cold to go anywhere. And there were times that we didn't get to go to church. And so we would do what we could at home. And to this day, I'm still trying to get to know my faith better and practice it better. And as a mom, it's one of those things. And like, as a parent, our kids are mirrors of ourselves. And so, if I'm not seeing something in my boys, that's a sign that I'm lacking there too. And actually today is Ash Wednesday for the traditional Catholics and Catholics all over the world. And it's one of those things that it was too cold here in Minnesota for me to take them to church this morning. So I don't have my ashes, but I'll receive them on Sunday. And it's just one of those things that I think you live best when you live what you believe. And so in my bios as well online, I put God first, and I have it listed there. So if people ask me to do stuff on Sundays, I've said no to many things because I'm like, nope, I'm sorry, I'm in church. That's just the
You're
way
like
it is.
Chick-fil-A closed on Sundays.
Hey, yeah. Oh man, Chick-fil-A is so good. They finally came to Minnesota, but yeah, no. And it's so funny because I only ever want Chick-fil-A on Sundays, and yet I'm like, nope.
I know.
No.
It happens to me all the time because there's a Chick-fil-A right by our church, and so I will literally be like, "Oh, no, like it's a killer."
So many times.
I know, and I've been down here for a little over 3 years, and I still do it every once in a while. So,
oh, that's so funny. You and me, same.
Yeah, sweet, man. Well, do you want a big family?
I would love to have as many children as God will bless us with. So what that equates to, I don't know. I have lost a child before. It's one of those things that.
Oh, what'd you say? You had what child?
I have lost a child. My first child was a miscarriage, and I try to normalize that too, because 1 in 4 children pregnancies are actually miscarried and lost.
Yeah,
and
wow.
It's not easy. It's not something that people usually want to be public about, but it's one of those healing journeys that has made me stronger and just appreciate so much more what I do have. Not because I, don't care about what I've lost, but because I love them that much more, because I'm not able to hold that other child in my arms. So I do have 2 boys, and I would love to see what God has in store. But I'm really not, I guess I don't put myself in control. God knows best.
Right. Wow. I'm excited, man. My brain is churning. I consider myself a super connector. Like I've got a huge network, and I'm always thinking about like, man, who needs to know this person? So my brain's like just twirling right now and doing somersaults. So I'm just thinking like it's you learn so much about people when you get to hear their stories.
Yes.
And
absolutely.
And it's fascinating. So who's more successful, you or your twin? No, I'm just kidding. Don't answer that question.
It's so funny because I think we define success so differently. I would definitely say we're both successful because
is she still in the dental industry?
She is. And she's loving it. She has 2 girls, which is super funny. I got 2 boys. She has 2 girls. So it's kind of funny how life works that way. But yeah.
So awesome. Well, wow. I'm fascinated. And I feel like, it's crazy because like I grew up where I didn't have any like type of traditional upbringing as a family. Like I had like support, like my dad was around, my mom was around, but they were split, and I stayed with my grandma a lot. And then I was just like this road warrior for like 2 years when I lived with my dad. My dad worked like he worked and then he golfed and worked out. So I had my car. Once I hit 16, I was like, I just lived out of my car for no reason. Like it wasn't like I was homeless or anything. I just was like, I like going from different person's house to house. And so like this like home tight unit thing was like new to me. And when I got married, I remember like I always tell people this story. I never forget Britt, that's my wife's name. She made this like amazing dinner and she was expecting us, I guess, to like just sit down and have this romantic dinner. And I like a lot of my like upbringing was like just eating on the fly. I mean, because my mom left and went to Detroit when I was younger. And so I grew up with my cousin, and we would just stand in the kitchen and eat, and that was dinner for us, like to stand and talk, and that's how we connected. So she made this amazing dinner. Like, she left. I downed this, like I think it was like steak and something else. I downed it. She came out and was like, where's your food? I was like, I ate. And she's like, well, I thought we were gonna eat dinner. I was like, I did. And she was like, well, I wanted to like eat together. And I was like, well, we can still talk. Like I had no clue that this was like I got messed up, So that was the last time I probably did that. But I just think it's cool how people come from such different upbringings, but yet still find a way to synergistically align together, like we did and connected on Clubhouse. And for whatever reason, now we're here. What do you want? I want to kind of land the plane a little bit. What do you want your legacy to be?
That's such a deep question. There's so much that I want my legacy to be, and it's still evolving every single day. So I think that's the first point. I want my legacy to continue to grow in depth, in space, in itself. But the number one thing I would love to do is create a legacy of opportunity, and that opportunity holds basically everything that God has given you. And for my children, for my family, for everyone that I touch,
Mm-hmm.
I want them to be blessed by everything that God has given me, and just to be really the carrier of
Mm-hmm.
everything. And so that's money, that's mindset, that's love, that's belief, that's faith, that's courage, that's, fear in and of itself too. I think fear is a good thing as well. Um, but in its place, right? So I want my legacy to be so surrounded with that. But a couple of the key points that I would like to see, like tangibly or like physically, that I can hold, I would love to see better opportunities or nonprofit opportunities for dental experiences. I would love to host religious retreats or support the church with building a school or something like that, just to really give back, because I do believe faith is super important, and not everyone is able to homeschool like I did.
Mm-hmm.
So there's so many opportunities, and I would love to be, kind of to wrap that thought up, I would love to be the inspiration for the woman out there that feels locked in a prison, and set her free, realizing that she put the bars around herself. So I want to be the inspiration for the limitless woman.
Two things I should have stopped, but just real quick, just like,
Yeah.
so I don't think I've heard the dental thing before. So nonprofit opportunities for dental services, is that what you say?
You know what? I
Like,
don't
where
know
does that
what
come
it's going to be. I'm not going to know. I don't know where it's going to come from, but Mission of Mercy was the event that I served at. And that was here in Minnesota, where I had that experience of giving and having it sponsored by great dental companies like Delta Dental, 3M, and other
from?
brands and things like that. I would love to see more opportunities like that offered, whether it's through just a general office that, then writes it off as a charity donation or whatever it is, just because I think dentistry is so underappreciated because it's over pricey, and
Mhm.
there's such a harsh line, and I think it needs to be changed a bit. And I don't know what my part will be in changing that, but I'm still licensed and certified, and I'm still very much affiliated with the world itself in the dentistry field. And I don't know
Mhm.
what it's going to look like, but that's something that's on my heart, because the orthodontist that straightened my teeth and helped me smile the way I smile today impacted me from the age of 9 to where I'm at now.
Hmm.
And I think that when we look at people and they smile or they don't smile, that's such a powerful thing because it's free. A smile is the freest, easiest thing that you can give someone. You don't have to touch them. You don't have to, be right next to them. You can send them a selfie through the
Mhm.
phone with a smile that carries the energy within your soul.
Mm.
And I think that dental care for everyone would be huge, but I don't know what my part will be. So that's why I say it's evolving, because I don't know what it is,
Mhm.
but it's on my heart to make something happen and to be a part of that impact as well.
Hmm. Interesting. Interesting. Hmm. I'm just thinking about the teeth thing. Sometimes I ask people very personal questions,
Yeah.
and I don't know if it's my wife says, Daryl, you can't ask that. And I'm like, well, I didn't know it was like socially acceptable. But I'll just say it, since it's on a podcast, I guess you could just never come back if it offends you.
Oh
But
gosh.
like, you talk about your teeth like it's like a really bad thing. Like, were they like super terrible?
Oh, they were super terrible. Let me see if I can get, like, might have to move my computer here. I think I have my mold of what they looked like before I had braces. It was bad. So I'll try to hold this up to the camera. I don't know if you can see how crooked and messed up these things are. I
Yeah, I can see
had
it.
it really bad. Wow, I'm really off with. Okay, there's my
Huh.
coordination. Sticking out, crooked all around. It was bad. And I did not
Why do
smile.
you just sitting on your desk? I'm sorry.
It's a great question. There's actually a really good reason why.
Like
Because
what?
it started messy. It
Mm-hmm.
started messy,
Mm-hmm.
ugly, gross. And now I have the smile that I have today. So my message, my life, my business, my everything is going to start messy. And I have to be okay with that, because that's a part of who I am. So every time I look at that, it's a reminder of where I came from and where I am now.
Hmm.
And to remember that where my feet are at now is taking me to places that I have in my dreams and in my visions at this point. And it
Mm.
will become reality if I stick to it. And
God.
braces aren't fun, but I tell you what, these monsters, my husband says they're scary enough to be Halloween props.
Oh my God. So
Yes, I got a lot of love from the hubby too. It's great. But
did you guys get married when you had those teeth or no?
Oh gosh, no. Gosh, no. He did not know me when that was happening. Thank goodness. He probably would have ran away. But no, genuinely, like my twin sister has perfect teeth.
But do you think it was just in your head though? Did you get made fun of for your teeth all the time?
I did, and I didn't. But I also was just very I think I was more conscious of the comparison again with my twin sister. And that's totally okay. That's totally normal. It happens. But I think the fact that her teeth were perfect and didn't need any support or any alterations, that I was like, wow, something's really wrong with me. And it was wrong to a point because some of my teeth were causing pain and things like this. So like some of it was wrong. But for aesthetics alone, it was just more a conscious thing. And so then when my teeth were fixed, it was one of those moments where I was like, I have no reason to hold back my smile. I have the absolute best reason to smile out of gratitude for what my parents, made happen for me. I'm not in pain. And now I have straight teeth. I love it. It's so fun. I still have to floss behind the stupid retainers and stupid things like that. But it's one of those things where, as a message to other people, it's going to be messy like this. It's going to be messy. But the first 4 letters of message is mess.
I love it. That's a good way to end. I still think it's like, I'm like, you busted up this like teeth mold. I'm like, that has never happened before.
You're like, that is freaky. Okay.
That's why I love like hosting the show. You just never know what's gonna happen, guys. If someone's like, hey, where do we find her and connect with her at? Where can they go?
Heck yeah, I would love to connect with your people. Your people are my people, Daryl. Find me on Clubhouse. Find me on Facebook. I love that we're streaming on Facebook here. I'm really all over the place, but LinkedIn, like I shared earlier, is not my favorite place to hang out. But I will answer. I might be a little bit longer in replying, but I will answer. It will just take a minute to get over there because I'm so excited to go to LinkedIn.
Guys, go follow her. Hit her up on the gram. Hit her up on Clubhouse. Is it Justine Mader on Clubhouse too?
Yes, it is. I make it super easy. There are no excuses, you guys. It's super easy to find me.
So hit her up, man. It's great. I know she's in there active all the time. She had tremendous value. She brought it this morning. She's brought it on this episode today. Guys, I want you to just think of what you heard. We heard a lot about just success and comparison and family and homeschool and like mess, how it turns into your message, and like there's a lot of gems thrown in this episode, but it doesn't matter how much we shared. What matters is how much you apply. So I always tell something like, say, like pick one thing that you can maybe like implement, apply, think about more deeply, and that way you can really ingrain some of the things that we talked about today. And maybe it wasn't new information. Maybe it's just a reminder of something you already know but needed to hear. And so I just want to thank you for joining us. If there's anything I can do for you guys, know, just hit me up, darylstinson.com. Reach out. Make sure you share this episode if you're just tuning in because you came in at the end, or maybe you're like, I don't know, sometimes like the streaming platforms will start you at 22 minutes. It's fine. Go back and watch it. We talked about a lot of stuff. And remember, no matter how many mistakes you made, no matter what you've done, life has a way of awarding you second chances, and second chances exist so we can finish strong. So finish strong, my friends.